Welcome back to Son of Chelsea. Daniel Childs here. Team selector time as Chelsea travel to Spurs on Sunday afternoon in the Premier League during a very stormy UK weekend. Even if you're not in the UK, maybe you've seen some of the disruption, games being called off. Hopefully this one will go ahead, which I suspect it will because it is in central London, but still. It's interesting to see if the conditions affect this game in any manner. But this is a big game for Chelsea. For some Chelsea fans, this is their big game of the season. I do the Chelsea Echo pod weekly with Louis Beneventi, and for him, this is his biggest game of the season. And I understand why historically for Chelsea fans, it's such a important game. And it's a real opportunity for Chelsea to end what has been so far a very, very good week and also a very good block to start the festive period, beating Leicester, beating Heidenheim, convincingly beating Southampton and also Aston Villa. If Chelsea can win this game in terms of the Champions League race and just generally, but especially in terms of the Champions League race and qualifying in the top four, this would be huge. I think arguably Chelsea's most important win of the season. And there are reasons to be optimistic, not only because of Chelsea's own form, but also the state of Spurs going into this game that we'll delve into. So please do hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you as well for those who have checked out my long discussion podcast with Liam Toomey from The Athletic. It was great to have Liam on. Thank you for your kind comments so far. Let me know as well if you'd like to see interviews and discussions with guests moving forward uploaded like that on YouTube, especially sort of the full length interview rather than sort of in segments as I've done them before. So let me know what you prefer, but definitely if you haven't checked it out already, me and Liam speak about Maresca. Obviously things are going really well at the moment, the January transfer window, certain players, the way Maresca is working and impressing behind the scenes, how he's dealing with the media in such a sort of a calm and precise way. So go and check that out if you haven't already. Let's look at Chelsea, the team news. Nothing major, I guess. The new one is Mudryk being out due to illness. We were a little bit surprised that he didn't travel to Southampton, or he wasn't involved at all. Now we know why, basically, and he's out for this game alongside Wesley Fofana and Reece James. But luckily, due to a midweek game where he rotated, everyone else is available, which is obviously great news. Let's look at Spurs, who are obviously not in a great place under Ange Postecoglou at the moment. The weird thing looking at their numbers in the Premier League this season kind of summarises how very different things could be for them if a few results had turned around. Like we saw how much they demolished Man City, who sure Man City have dropped levels this season, but still to go away to the Etihad and win 4-0 is still, as annoying as it is for a Chelsea fan to admit, an impressive result. If Chelsea did that, we'd be, screaming from the rooftops how brilliant it was. And you look at their numbers, third for goals per match, third for goals conceded per match, so defensively and offensively they're not that bad. Second for average possession per match, so they're very much dominating the ball. And 20th for accurate long ball, so it sort of epitomises their short passing game under Postecoglou. But their form has been erratic and it has led them to be 10th in the Premier League. Very mid-table form, that's where they sit at the moment. And going into this game, they're kind of increasing tensions with fans and Postecoglou after their game against Bournemouth. We saw the clips, I'm sure you've seen the clips as well, of Postecoglou walking over to the away end and not exactly getting a warm reception. And Postecoglou, I think, is an authoritative figure. I think he's someone who's tried to go in there and very much recalibrate things after some difficult years, and I think did good things last year. But I still think tactically there are severe questions around Ange Postecoglou in terms of the way he approaches Premier League games. I think arguably the most notable was against Chelsea when they were down to 9 men last year and deciding to play this suicidal high line. They still play a high line that gets them in a lot of trouble, which gives you hope when you come up against them. I think defensively as well from set pieces, they're pretty shocking. And mentally too, there are still these great lapses of Spurs during the season that really limit them from moving on to the next stage. But then you look at the squad and you sort of think, yeah, there are some exciting players, but maybe they are where they should be. Like maybe not 10th, but the idea that they should be competing for a Premier League title, or even like where Chelsea are given the quality of their squad. I mean, maybe there's a bit of a reality check there, but Postecoglou seems determined, I'm going to win this club a trophy. But at the moment, it looks like same old for Spurs. And it's why Chelsea have a great opportunity on Sunday to kind of put an nail in the coffin. It sounds very extreme. But in terms of the mood, in terms of the bragging rights, and also in terms of what I'm mainly looking at, that points gap between Chelsea and Spurs getting over double digits. it's a great opportunity, and it's kind of helped as well by the injury list. They have been shattered really with injuries. Vicario, first choice goalkeeper, out. Richarlison, Bentancur suspended, obviously not injured. Van der Ven, Moore, Romero, Davis and Odegaard all injured. Romero, apparently it's a late check for him for this game. Obviously he's a big defender for them, but they have been decimated by injuries, and there's been a real exhaustion, it feels like, during that period where Postecoglou has had to play more strengthened teams in the Europa League, obviously a higher calibre of competition than Chelsea have in the Conference League, so that has kind of hurt them as well. So really all round, it does feel like, based on the mood of both clubs going into this game, Chelsea are favourites. Also going into a stadium where Chelsea have a pretty good record. I think it's 4 out of 5 out of 6 wins for us. I mean, we love going there, we love winning, and hopefully that can continue tomorrow. Now, I think for Chelsea, it's an amazing opportunity, and in great form, attack-wise, I think we're the best and most exciting and kind of prolific in the league, or just like one of the teams that are the great entertainers. Like in terms of XG, we're creating the most. In terms of the way we're able to rotate in midweek and players come in and still perform, it's a great environment to be in at Chelsea at the moment, and Maresca really needs to keep that going. But as well, you need to factor in this is a different level of opponent to Southampton, one of the worst teams in the league. So there is going to be some rotation, and I think a lot of the things he did, Maresca, in midweek was all in service of resting up some key players to bring them back for this game, which I completely understand. And kind of looking at the starting 11, the main thing is trying to exploit Spurs' high line, their defensive line. They want to have the ball, and it's trying to hit them on the counter as well from set pieces. Can we exploit them there, because they can be really weak at that area, and also exploit the tension probably inside that stadium going into this game. The lack of first choice option, dominant options and quality options. You know, Van der Ven, for instance, is a really big player for them defensively, because he's got the speed to kind of cover when they do have a ball hit over the top and break that offside line. They don't have that, and it's definitely a massive drop in level between first and second choice, which is where Chelsea, I think, attack wise at the moment, can really profit. We know Robert Sanchez is going to return in goal. Now, the big question, I think, for Maresca is whether he goes back to the way personnel, or mainly personnel and structure-wise, he approached a game against Aston Villa on Sunday, and playing a sort of free back system, playing his kind of free first choice central midfielders, because Romeo Lavia didn't start in midweek, and bringing him back in. Or whether, because when you look at Spurs, they still have Dejan Kulusevski, who obviously on his day is a really threatening winger. Brennan Johnson is their top goal scorer this season. Of course, Heung-min Son could start this game, is a well-regarded and respected Premier League player, as we know, has some top quality, has hurt Chelsea in the past. And Dominic Solanke, who hasn't quite hit the heights that I think people expected when he made that move to Spurs, but is still, I think, a good Premier League striker. So you have to deal with that compared to where we were a week ago against Aston Villa, who don't quite play the extensive wide threats that Spurs do. And that's maybe in the calculation where Maresca feels a more conventional fullback, especially on the right side, is needed. However, I am leaning still towards how just seamlessly and well structured we looked when we had when we had Fofana, Colwill and Cucurella as the back three. And then after that, you had kind of this midfield block of Lavia, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez really hurting Aston Villa on a number of occasions. So I'm going to stick with that. So Badiashile comes into the team here in the back three alongside Levi Colwill and Mot Cucurella. Colwill fully rested, great to see. And Benoit Badiashile too. I expected him to start in midweek. He didn't, and I do ponder whether he comes back into the team here. And Tosin and Disasi, yes, Disasi scored, credit to him, but defensively, even against one of the worst Premier League teams we've seen in recent years, Chelsea still gave up some even decent opportunities to them when they were down to 10 men in the second half. So you want your first choice back three or back four in here, and obviously we can't do that without Fofana. However, I think Badiashile will get his Premier League start. So then you do have Romeo Lavia, Moises Caicedo in that midfield. I think they can really dominate against Spurs. I think in a way they're able to protect the ball, win the ball. Caicedo has been one of Chelsea's most imperious and kind of dominant players in that area, really eating up space. And I just feel the way how Chelsea can maybe lure Spurs in at times, force them to move out and then look to hit them on the counter, and also the gaps that have opened up in recent weeks that have been really damaging to Spurs kind of structure in between midfield and defence is something I'm looking to exploit. So then we get into kind of the attacking four, I'd call it, but behind the striker. I think Noni Madueke will start here. He came in midweek, scored. Maresca was very public in terms of a bit of tough love for Madueke. I think that was kind of trying to get a response out of him and trying to get that consistency level up. And obviously there is some history between Madueke and Spurs. So hopefully he can maybe produce a big moment away at Spurs, which would be great for his Chelsea career. But I think he'll start here. Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez kind of as those number 8s. Yes, we know Enzo in a better game will have to drop a little bit deeper. However, Enzo Fernandez has been a defining player for Chelsea in recent weeks, and hopefully on a bigger stage and kind of a more notable fixture, he can do it again, because he is arguably in the form of his Chelsea career at the moment. So he needs that to continue. Productivity-wise, he's contributing in terms of creating goals. Had an assist for the Zassi for the set piece. Can he do the same here? And in open play, he's being really destructive as well and kind of really creative, which is lovely to see. And obviously Cole Palmer finally hitting the back of the net again 2 times in a row in the last 2 Premier League games. So another chance for him to add to his tally this season. And I think those 2 players could be very defining, because if they can find the pockets of space that so damaged Aston Villa, I think there could be a lot of joy for Chelsea, because it's very hard, I think, for those 2 players when they're on song to limit them. Because then if you do try and, very much focus on that central area, then you have the wide threats that maybe open up space, and that offers another route for Chelsea to get in behind. Now, I think on the left, Jadon Sancho scored his first Chelsea goal. He's going to be feeling in confidence. However, I think for this game, my big priority against this Postecoglou Spurs, is speed in behind. I want direct runs. I want ferocious runs in behind that defence on a number of occasions. I want to test that offside line on a number of occasions. And I think that's why, if I'm going for speed, and I'm going for aggression and intensity, I'm going for Pedro Neto over Jadon Sancho. Now, it's not to say Sancho can't be a good transition player. If you look at his career at Borussia Dortmund, he did it on a number of occasions. However, I just think Neto, he's gone to Spurs before and he's really hurt their defence last season for Wolves. And I think maybe this is the game for Neto, and you can bring Sancho off the bench later when maybe space is opening up. And of course, Jackson, fully rested in midweek, is ready for this game. No fears of him being suspended. It's great to have Jackson. And can he also make it 3 goals in 3 Premier League games, which just solidifies his kind of status as Chelsea's first choice striker. So that is my lineup. Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me across the socials at SonOfChelsea. We'll be back to review whatever happens on Sunday afternoon at Spurs. Hopefully another 3 points for Enzo Maresca. So that's it, and I'll see you again.